Today is August the 10th. It's Prisoners Justice Day. I wasn't even aware that today is Prisoners Justice Day until I got a call from a sister of mine who asked me if I was getting out there today to support Prisoners Justice Day. Because of the late notification, I wish that I could have attended one of the events taking place all across North America to commemorate Prisoners' Justice Day and tribute and speak out for the rights of those who are incarcerated and remember those who have died while incarceration in North America. I want to tell you that with there can be no glory without a story, There can be no message without a mess. And I want to say that in 1990, when I was 18 years old, living in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, I was sentenced to Tongay prison for a duration of 6 months. It was my very first offense as an adult, and I was the youngest prisoner in Tongay prison in 1990 in Montreal, Quebec. And I took a jacket from a girl at Alexis Neon Plaza downtown in Montreal, Quebec. And I had a legal aid lawyer, Edward Montpetit, who represented me as my first offense in Palais de Justice. And they sentenced me as a young 18-year-old kid for taking a jacket from a girl at the mall. And yeah, that doesn't spell real justice. So I never got the chance to go through that court diversion or community hours, nothing. It's because as a youth, they tell you that your youth records are sealed, but they are not. I did grow up in and out of juvenile facilities like um, Shawbridge Detention Center, and What If You, because I was deemed a runaway. I never unalived anybody. I never held a pistol in my hand, never robbed a bank, and never engaged in breaking and entering, and I've never taken a life. My crime was that I couldn't stay put. I like to run away and go on adventures from Montreal to Toronto at the age of 14. So they halted my little feet that like to run like lightning. And I see many of things in there in prison. I saw women who were while incarcerated consuming heroin. I met street workers. I met women who have unalived. I was subjected to seeing, you know, acts between the women there. I saw it all. But somehow, I want to say that God kept me safe for those 6 months in Tongay prison. And it took me a while to free myself from my past. But in the year 2020, during the COVID times, the Canadian government granted me a pardon. So if you were to go through CPEC and look for my name and date of birth, you'll not find anything because now my records are sealed. What I want to say in regards to that is that we're supposed to live on a continent where there's reform and the hope of rehabilitation, but I never got that chance at 18. They just said, "We got you now, girl." Boom, right into Tongay prison for 6 whole months as a kid, you know what I mean? But I survived because, like I said, we can't say there's glory without a story. And I'm not ashamed of yesterday because yesterday is gone and I'm no longer standing as that troubled youth. But what I can say is that these institutions that are designed to implement rehabilitation and change for young people and old too, they actually do more damage than repair, you know. I did get my life together and I waited more than 30 years to be pardoned from taking someone's jacket in a plaza, Lexus Neon Plaza. Now, on paper, they described it as armed robbery, although I didn't brandish a weapon, you know, so that stuck with me. And during those 30 years, I've had to work in hotel rooms, folding laundry, selling vacuum cleaners because I couldn't get a job with a record behind my name. As a matter of fact, it wasn't that I lacked the skills, but that record got in my way from graduating as a social worker. It got in my way when the criminal background checks came through and I didn't pass, and I was sent home fired from work because of my past, you know. And what I want to say is that if we decide to do any crime, we must do the time. But we come from a system that's supposed to rehabilitate and help people to reintegrate into society and not prolong their rehabilitation by making it impossible for them to do so. So I want to say to the youth out there, you may not care today, and when your parents are saying, watch the company you keep, you're like, whatever, man. But you need to care because on this continent, your past is definitely your future. And what I also want to say is that our whole entire system in North America needs to be revamped, you know? A, things that you do from many years ago stay with you until you're given that pardon or forgiveness from the government. But I didn't have to wait for the government to give me my pardon. God pardoned me of my wrongdoing so long ago. But He just made the journey and the path easier for me when He moved mountains for me to be pardoned of my earthly crimes, you know, and earthly transgressions, you know. So, what I'd like to see as justice is that rather than putting a label on youths, especially black youths, that we focus more on rehabilitation and designing programs that shift the youth's mind from thinking that the answer is in the streets. You know what I mean? And I want to tell you, I'm not ashamed to tell you my story because when you look me up, that little girl in 1990 is no longer there in CPEC, and you won't find her mistakes there anymore either. But I want to say if anyone can do it, can change their life, if I can, you can, and you and you and you. It takes effort on both parts, three parts: family dynamics, society, and the individual. You know, we're all responsible for the outcome of many youth situations, you know. But I just want to say rest in peace to all those who weren't fortunate as I was to walk out of those prison gates alive, and let's keep working and fighting and petitioning together to make a better way for youth, especially our black youths. You don't know. Have a wonderful day and happy Prisoners in Justice Day to the families who have been affected and youths and everybody out there. This is DJ Bubbles, aka Vanessa, the CEO of Black People Uniting for Change.